This story starts with a carriage going on a narrow road. While looking at the paper, girl said, "So, this kid is the only one?" The other person replied, "Unfortunately, madam, that is currently the case." While looking at the road, he said, "The road here is rather narrow. We may have to walk from this point on." They got down from the carriage and started walking. The girl said, "This road is certainly too old and narrow for a wagon." "Carly Browning, master of the Brownings Guild," she said. "Oh well, it doesn't matter. As long as my candidate is acceptable." Harper said, "Indeed, madam." Harper Blythe, Carly's aide, responded. While standing in front of the door, she said, "Is this the place?" She knocked on the door and asked, "Is anyone home?" Someone slightly opens the door and asked, "Who is it?" Carly was looking up and then she glances down. A young boy asked, "Who are you?" Carly said, "Oh, I'm not trying to sell anything. Don't worry. I mean, my job is sales, but—" The boy interrupts her and said, "Not interested." The boy tries to clasp the door, but Carly stops the door with her hand and said, Wait. One of the guards shouted, "Madam, please be careful." A guard came in front of Carly. While guarding her, he said, "Step back, madam. We will protect you." Carly said, "You all make it look like someone's trying to assassinate me. I'm fine. Step back." The young boy glares at them and asked, "Who are you people?" Carly, while eyeing the boy, thinks in her mind, "So this small, skinny boy is my final candidate?" Carly said, while extending her hand, "Greetings, Lord Allard. I am Carly Browning, master of the Brownings Guild." She thinks in her mind, how did it come to this? 1 month ago, at the shelter of Lily's hotel. Harper, while angry, asked General Manager, "Are you listening?" While trembling, Manager replied, "Oh, of course." Harper asked, "Is that so? Based on your silence, I assumed that my words had been going in one ear and out the other." While sweating, Manager said, "Well." Harper said he purposefully chose the day that our guild master was staying at the hotel managed by our guild and boldly strode straight into her room. How disgraceful. Carly takes a sigh and then she yawns. Then she said, "Oh, sorry. I didn't sleep very well. Maybe because someone attacked me in my sleep." Harper said, "This is hardly the time for jokes. The culprit found and entered the exact room that you were staying in, madam." While remembering the culprit, he said he was fortunately caught on sight, but that isn't all. The employee at the front desk and the emergency master key both disappeared at the time of the act, meaning it's possible this employee was an accomplice. He said this issue is important for the safety of not only our guild master but also our normal customers. While glaring, he asked the manager, "Just how on earth are you educating your employees?" While scratching her hair, Carly said, "Well, come on. Could he really have expected something like this to happen?" The manager defended. She raises her hand and said, "You may go now, sir." Harper said, "Madam." She said, "That's enough now. Don't you think, Harper?" While the manager dashes away. Harper takes a sigh and said, "You are too magnanimous, madam." Carly said, "You're more than enough on the strict front, so I can be a little lax." Harper said, "You are far too relaxed. You just about suffered something terrible. Did you already forget?" Carly said, "How could I forget? I was shocked too. You said it was a noble who tried to attack me, right?" She said, "Apparently, he is the second son of a baron. I have sent the guild's chief legal officer and chief financial officer. They should be working out an agreement around now." While imagining the culprit in debt, Harper said, "An agreement? Oh, you mean taking everything they have?" While stretching her body, Carly said, "All right. Tell me when they get back. I just wanted to relax for a day. I guess I can't catch a break." She said, "No matter how desperate they may be for money, I'm just the master of a guild. I can't believe the son of a noble would sneak into my room like that. It makes no sense." Harper said, "It's because we're not just a guild." While sulking, Carly said, "Really?" Harper tells about the top guild, the Brownings. Its members are the kingdom's most well-known and wealthy merchants, and its symbol of a crow can be seen throughout the kingdom. While some may not even know the names of their own lords, they certainly know the master of the guild with the crow. People lost their minds over the story of a girl from a corner store becoming the wealthiest person in the country overnight. And with this famous woman of the Browning family turning 21 this year, she also became the top prospective bride for men looking to marry into riches. They say there's nothing the wealth of the Brownings can't buy, but I can't even buy the most important thing, peace of mind. They've sent letters, gifts, and tried all sorts of things. Now they're literally throwing themselves at me? While remembering about the nobles, Carly said, how could there still be old-fashioned men who are obsessed with a woman's virginity? Harper said, but madam, you managed to stay safe while alone against an armed stranger. It is a great relief, but it took a while before help could arrive. Carly looks towards Harper and said, oh, that? She winked as she said, I kicked that scoundrel right between his legs. Harper said, please speak in a more ladylike manner, madam. However, you did very well. Both of them agrees to each other in gestures. Harper said, the men who hope to marry you are beginning to use every method at their disposal. Carly said, yep. I'm lucky this attempt failed, but there's no guarantee the next one will fail too. While tapping on the table, she said, it's one thing for them to come after me, but it's quite another when these things start to interfere with the guild's affairs. She said this wasn't a method I wanted to use, but... While standing up, she said, I don't think I have any other choice, Harper. While standing, she said, it's time to buy a husband. After all, there's nothing in the world that the Brownings can't buy. A month later, present day. Back at Lord Allard's house. Carly said, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Lord Allard. I know we've just met, but would you be my husband? Ethelred said, I'm sorry. While confused, he asked, what did you just say? Carly asked, I'm asking whether you've made your decision about marrying me. Ethelred is confused, standing there looking at her. Carly asked, you read the letter I sent, didn't you? Ethelred asked, what letter? With an agitated face, Carly asked, pardon? She then whispers to Harper and asks, didn't you tell me that you sent the marriage offer and the drafted contract? Harper whispers back to her, I did. I'm sure it must have arrived by now. While they were busy talking to each other, someone came with a letter, and he said, hello? You've got mail. Here you are. While receiving the letter, Carly said, this is. While her hands were trembling holding the letter, she thinks in her mind, my stamp. She yelled at the postboy, why did this come so late? While giggling, postboy said, oh boy. You'll never believe it, ma'am. We all went out for supper and got food poisoning. We've been in the trenches for days, I tell ya. But the mail keeps coming in, and now we're just buried in it. Oh, and the toilet's clogged to boot. You can flush her down, but she'll just rush right back up and... Carly interrupts him and shouted, enough, enough. Go already. While going away, postboy said, I'll be off then. Got a mountain o' mail to deliver. While holding the letter, Carly glances at Ethelred while he looks at her. Carly said, oh, well, you see. Ethelred tries to close the door, but Carly stops him and said, wait. Hold on a second. This is the letter that I sent. While showing him the letter with a frustrated look, Carly thinks in her mind, humph. What a terrible start. How did we get to this? While back at the guild, Carly said he has to cut off the flow of suitors, which means he needs to come from a good family. While picturing the nobles she requires, she said, someone who comes from a good family but doesn't have any personal connections, assets, or career aspirations. Someone who has fallen out of favor with high society and would accept the proposal of a wealthy commoner. There must be at least 1 or 2 men that fit the bill, right? Carly said, I really said that. Harper said, you really did. Carly said, the incident at the hotel must have made me a little desperate. Carly said, but still, that sounds like it came right from the mouth of an evil villain, doesn't it? I'm like a wicked witch who thinks anything can be bought with money. After this statement of her, there is a moment of silence in the room. Carly said while sulking, come on, you lot. When I say something like that, you're supposed to say, no, you're not a witch. Harper asked, are you really planning to marry, madam? Carly asked why. Does it sound like I'm joking? Amy rose, Chief Financial Officer. Amy said, but madam, didn't you say you weren't ever going to marry? Even just recently. You said that you were going to live your entire life with the companionship of your money, and then split the rights to the guild evenly among us before your death. You also said you would donate all of your remaining money to an orphanage. Amy said with a happy face, so I was really hoping you'd die early. Ernest, Chief Legal Officer. Ernest said, how could you just say that? He said if Madam passes away too early, the assets will stop growing and be left at an insufficient amount. While getting shocked, Amy said with a cheerful expression, ah, that's true. What a thing to say when I'm in charge of the money. In that case, Madam, please continue living until the peak of our guild's prosperity, and then pass away right on time. Ernest said agreed. While Ernest and Amy are cheering, Carly asked, haha, you all do know that I'm right here, don't you? She said, well, anyway. I can't keep living like this. I know it's rare for there to be an unmarried woman in her early 20s with enough wealth to provide comfortable lives to 3 generations, but these suitors are trying so hard to woo me that it's become quite a bother. Amy said you might be the first person who's ever managed to halt all of the guild's paperwork due to incoming marriage proposals. While sulking, Carly said, yeah, that stuff. She said, and when we sent all the mail back, they started just sending everything directly to you. It seems these men who don't even know their place think they can woo a woman. Amy said, how absurd. Even our guild master has eyes. It's always men like that who have baseless confidence. Then Harper said, and now we've had stalkers, attempted kidnappers, and even bedroom invaders. But even so, I must say that I do not support you sacrificing yourself to a marriage of convenience. Carly said, you're blowing things out of proportion. It's simple. It would be foolish not to use a good method simply because I don't want to. And with how hard you all work, I feel guilty being such a burden. Harper said, all right. We will look for nobles whose families are in ruin, or those with non-hereditary titles. A while later, while presenting the list, Harper said, here is the list of potential candidates. While looking at the list, Carly said, let's see. While shocked after seeing the list, Carly drops the list and said, my dear friends, have you all collectively gone insane? Carly shouted, what am I meant to do with a 15-year-old child? He's but a boy. She yelled while showing Harper the list, he's only 15. Marriage? He's 6 years younger than me. Harper said, an age difference of that extent is common among nobles. While taking a sigh, Carly said, I'm against marrying young. Did you not see the recent paper published by the state? It even stated that the prince himself said it's time to bring an end to marrying young, did it not? With a straight face, Amy said, but 15 isn't young for the family of a marquis. And you're not even going to consummate the marriage anyway. While holding her head with both of her hands, Carly said, consummate? How could you say something so despicable? While pushing Amy away from her, Carly said, I'm against this marriage. I can't do it. No, I won't do it. Get away from me. Ernest said, madam. While showing the list, he said, there are more candidates on the other pages. Please take a deep breath and look through all of them first. With an exaggerated expression, Carly said, fine, give it here. She looks at other candidates' list. She puts down the list on table. And then she thinks in her mind the rest of them are all horrible. Back at the Elad household, Ethelred said, come in for now. While coming in, Carly said, please excuse our intrusion. Harper said to Harriet, you're late, Harriet. Harriet said, we had an emergency with a patient. Ethelred said to them, please sit down over there. While looking at Ethelred, Carly said, seeing him up close, he doesn't look as young as I'd been fearing. He's also quite handsome. He's definitely going to be a heartbreaker. Ethelred said, we didn't expect any visitors, so we don't have anything prepared. Shall I at least put some tea on? Carly said, no, thank you. That's quite all right. Ethelred also sits and asked, well, could you tell me what you're here for then? Carly said, "It is my pleasure to make your acquaintance, your lordship. I am Carly Browning, master of the Brownings Guild." Carly points towards Harper, and Harper bows his head, and Carly said, "This is my aide, Harper Blythe." She points towards Harriet and said, "This woman here is Harriet Arden, a medical practitioner." Ethelred introduced himself. "I am Ethelred." Carly thinks in her mind, he purposefully didn't give his last name or title. He's putting up quite a wall. Carly said, "It wasn't our intention, but we've ended up gathering here without giving you any word in advance." She said, "And we even brought guards, so it's understandable that you'd be wary of us." While giving him the letter, she said, "To return to the subject at hand, the reason I'm here is detailed in this envelope. However, I will briefly explain first. You can listen while you read it." Ethelred opened the envelope. While reading the contents, he gets confused. Carly said inside, "You'll find a marriage contract, my self-introduction, and the prenuptial agreement, which—" Ethelred interrupts her and said, Wait! Carly asked, "What is it?" With an agitated look, Ethelred asked, "What on earth? What is this talk of marriage out of nowhere?" He said, "I have nothing to do with the Brownings, and how could I marry someone I've just met?" Carly said, "Lord Ethelred, you're the only one for me. That's how much I desire you." Ethelred looks at her, and is still confused, and then he looks away. While everyone is surprised by this statement, Carly thinks in her mind, "Well, with a little more pressure, I might be able to sell him on this." Carly said, "The conditions are pretty good. You're not losing anything on this deal." Ethelred said, "Even so." A 15-year-old reading his first contract. Ethelred said, "How about discussing this with the head of the household? His position in this is also included in the contract." Ethelred asked Carly, "You know who I live with?" Carly said, "Of course. It's your family. How could I bring up marriage without talking about your family?" Ethelred thinks in his mind, "She must have already done a background check on me, but she's still saying, family. She should know that I don't share a single drop of blood with them." While clapping, she said, "Oh, there he is now." Someone came while they were sitting and said, "Young master?" An old man came and said, "I heard people talking. Who's this?" While looking at the old man, Carly thinks in her mind, that must be Albert, the third-generation butler of the Elad family. After the servants scattered, he's apparently remained a sturdy caretaker for the family all by himself. Carly said, "Harper, the documents." Harper said, "Yes." Harper presents the contract to Albert, and said, "Here is the contract we are proposing with Lord Elad." While reading the contract, Albert asked, "Marriage proposal?" While reading the contract, Albert feels pain in his neck, and he said, "Oh dear." Ethelred shouted, "Albert!" While Ethelred is worried, Carly thinks in her mind, "I guess he's not that sturdy after all. I thought this might happen. That's why we brought Dr. Arden." Harriet said while checking up on Albert, "I'm a doctor, sir. Take a deep breath. That's it. It would be best for you to go back and lie down." Albert said, "No, I'm all right. More importantly," he asked, "what is the meaning of all this?" Carly said, "Oh, well, where should I begin? First, if you'd take a look at the documents we've given you." Albert said, "This child is of nobility?" "How dare you!" Carly flinches and said, My, aren't we the high-ranking family all of a sudden?" Albert glares and asked, "What did you say?" While scratching her hair, Carly said, Yes. How dare I, indeed." She thinks in her mind, Lord Elad has already gone bankrupt. All he has left is his family name. Honor, wealth, heritage, they've all vanished without a trace. And yet he asks me how I dare do this? Carly said, "Perhaps I don't look like much to you because I'm a merchant, but I'm still a Browning. A young marquis, 15 years of age. Moved to his current residence 8 years ago. Lives alone with an elderly butler. No close relatives." While Ethelred flinches, she said, "I know everything about you, and I dare say I am your best possible partner." She said, "Take my hand?" I guarantee you'll lose nothing in this deal. Ethelred said, You say quite boldly that you've done a background check on me. How are you so certain I'd agree to such a ridiculous proposal? Carly said, Your lordship, merchants do not take certainty lightly. All I can do is work until you desire me. She said, I'm the kingdom's most eligible and wealthy bachelorette, and I've arrived right on your doorstep. This is an excellent opportunity for you. She said, Moreover, I am even a woman of conscience. I'm not asking you to live with me as my real husband. You only have to sign the contract. Then Harper said, Madam has a great number of suitors, and our guild is attempting to purge disincentivize them. Hence, we are hoping for a marriage-type partnership with the lord of the noble Elad family. However, if you oppose the marriage due to ethical reasons, he said while pointing his hand towards Ethelred. Of course we do! Buying a little baby like this for marriage is savage and irrational. While giving him the contract, he said, Please note that our proposal is in the form of temporary employment and sponsorship. The content of the contract are as follows. Special short-term employment contract, Guildmaster's husband. 1. This contract will be valid until the employee's coming of age. This is subject to change with the agreement of both parties. 2. As a down payment, the employer shall transfer a portion of her guild's land to the employee. 3. The employer shall pay all of the employee's work expenses. The employer shall not force any activity on the employee beyond the minimum required for displaying their relationship. Carly said, Honestly, it isn't honorable of me to get a child involved. However, all we need is written acceptance. For everything else, I will agree to whatever you desire. Ethelred asked, Whatever I desire? You seem to just say whatever you think I'll want to hear. How can I trust you? Carly said, That's why we have a contract, isn't it? She said, But also, you're right. It's up to you whether or not you deem us trustworthy. And it's up to me whether or not I will betray that trust. Ethelred thinks in his mind she doesn't seem like a liar. But she's not telling me to trust her either. There's no way that I can know for sure whether she's trustworthy. He thinks, I am sure of one thing. This woman represents both a massive choice and a challenge in my life. Guild headquarters. Carly said, Long story short, we were kicked out. Amy said, You're really bad at negotiating, madam. The future of the guild sure looks bleak. Carly takes a sigh and said, If my skilled financial officer says so, I guess it's true. I'm useless. The future is in your hands, guys. Harper said, Please refrain from making jokes. I cannot help but take them seriously. Also, Amy Rose, you go too far with your jokes about the guild master. While showing her disapproval, Amy said, TSK, you're so strict. Ernest asked, By the way, where did you say they lived? Linden Street? Carly said, No, Elm. Ernest asked, Huh? Elm Green? They live in a place like that? Carly said, I know, right? Even though he's an Elad Marquis. Ernest tells Elad their Marquis family name and the name of the grain farmland they own. There was a time when the products of that land all contributed to the power of the Marquis. But they no longer have their land or castle. Even their townhouse in the capital has been taken from them. He said, Based on our investigations, they only receive the small pension funds that are given to those of nobility. Carly said, That's right. I think that's how they're getting by. Moreover, those two. While remembering Ethelred and Albert in her mind, she said, Something's still bugging me about the old man there. He doesn't look very well, and he keeps coughing. Amy said, He probably has a cold. The seasons are changing, after all. Carly said, We can't be sure of that. I left a few guards there just in case so that we can keep in touch. There's also the fact that gangs might show up if rumors spread that I went there. While clapping, Amy asked, Does this mean you haven't given up on the Marquis yet? Did you perhaps fall in love at first sight? Carly glares at her and said, Must you make me look so shameless? While they were talking, someone knocked on the door. Carly said, Come in. She said, Hello, Marie. What's for dessert today? While pushing the serving cart, Marie said, Hello? I've brought strawberry shortcakes and black tea today. While glancing at the cake, Carly said, I'm curious about something. Did no one from the royal family or nobility try to help the Elad family before they reached this point? While Marie is serving them cake and tea, Amy said, The nobility have no interest in others. They just want to fill their own stomachs. You sure are naive, madam. Ernest said, Even the crown prince is wary of the power wielded by the high nobility. There's even a possibility that they're the ones who brought about the downfall of the Elads. Carly said, Huh! That's scary. Marie asked Carly, May I help you with anything else? Carly said, That's all right. Thank you. Marie goes away with the serving cart. While drinking tea, Carly said, Come to think of it, what happened to the hotel pervert? Amy said, The nerve. They think that just because they're of nobility, they can tell us to keep this quiet when they're the ones who started the whole thing. With a menacing look, she said, That's why we were going to get a massive settlement in return, but… Ernest said, But their financial situation was a mess. That's also why they started it. It's a complete mess. They have no money. Only debt. Carly asked, But you all have still managed to acquire some assets, right? Amy said, Of course. We took every last crumb they had from them. The only ones who know we took all of their money is us and them. Carly said, Good. Now we can formally charge them and get rid of all of that useless pride and honor that they have left. While smirking, she said, As soon as we receive the settlement money, get it in all the newspapers. Make sure the headlines are as sensational as possible. And don't worry about the expense. Back at the Elad household. Elad is sleeping. While sleeping, he opens his eyes slightly and said, It's cold. He thinks in his mind, I guess it rained last night. Is Albert all right? He seemed really sick all day yesterday. He went to where Albert's room is and he knocked on the door and asked, Albert, are you there? Albert? Ethelred opens the door and said, Did it rain a lot last night? He shouted, Albert, Albert. Albert is lying on the bed with a grimace look. Ethelred looks at him and sits near him. He said, How long have you been like this? All night? Ethelred thinks in his mind, At first, I have to find a clinic. No, I can't leave him alone like this. It's dangerous. Ethelred said, I'll go find someone to help. Just hang on. Ethelred dashes out the room. He thinks in his mind, who can I ask? What do I do? When he reaches outside his house, a person asked him, Is something the matter? Is there an emergency? The person said, Please excuse me. And he barges in the Elad household. Ethelred said, Wait. Who are you to be walking into someone's house like this? The person doesn't stop and keeps on walking. While going up the stairs, Ethelred said, Wait. This isn't a good time. The person lifts Albert up and said, Please calm down. I will take this patient to the hospital. I will call a carriage and help you to the main street. Ethelred asked, Are you? The person said, Yes. I am from the Browning Guild. They bring Albert to a hospital and admits him there. Carly, Harper and Amy came to where Albert is admitted. Carly asked Harriet what happened. How is he? Harriet said, He has pneumonia. Luckily, the guards did a good job handling the situation. He foolishly sat by and let his illness worsen. I gave him some medicine, so let's keep him here and watch over him for a few more days. While sitting beside Albert, Ethelred asked, Doctor, how much are the fees for the treatment and hospitalization? Harriet said, Oh, don't worry about that. I'd be happy to take only a small fee. Just think of it as a stroke of luck for having a doctor amongst your acquaintances. Carly said, If she says it's fine, then it really is. Everyone at the hospital knows Dr. Arden, so you can ask the doctors and staff for anything you need. Ethelred said, Okay, also I'd like to thank you too. Thanks to you, Albert was able to get quick treatment. I'm not quite sure how to repay you though. He thinks in his mind, I was taught to always repay my debts, but this is Carly Browning. What can I give the kingdom's wealthiest merchant? Wait, there is one thing. The marriage contract. He thinks no matter what I sacrifice, it won't be enough to repay her for keeping my family alive. But at least with this, Ethelred said. Madam, if the contract that you proposed previously is still valid, I would like to consent and… Ethelred stopped middle sentence after he saw Carly glaring at her. Carly said with an angry expression, Hey? Just what do you take him, she said. Did you think I brought this man to the hospital so that you would accept my marriage proposal? Is that the kind of person I look like to you? She said, Of course, I haven't given up on you, but this is unrelated. I only did what anyone would have done in this situation. So you'd better not be thinking anything ridiculous. Amy shuts Carly's mouth with her hand and shouted, Oh, for goodness sake, madam! Quit while you're ahead, would you? She said, Look, madam. This kid has been rejecting you, but now he's finally agreeing to the marriage, no? So count yourself lucky and accept him. Why are you rejecting him now? Harper said, Miss Rose, you are complicating the conversation. Please step back. Carly yelled at Amy and said, Harper's right. I'm begging you, please just stay still. Amy also yelled and said, I'm already standing still. Carly said, Your mouth, too. Stop moving your mouth. Ethelred thinks in his mind, She seems like a person with morals. I don't feel like she's a bad person. She even saved Albert. Ethelred said, I will genuinely accept it, the marriage. Amy said, See? Just go and get it done already. Who cares what's right and wrong? Carly puts her hand on Amy's face and said, I'm serious. You don't have to do this because of him. I'm not interested in using a person's life to put someone in my debt. Ethelred said, It's not compensation. I'll try trusting you. That would be enough, right? Carly said, What the… She takes a sigh and said, All right then. You won't regret this decision, your lordship. Ethelred and Carly shakes each other's hand. Ethelred said, You don't have to address me so formally. I'll do my best. While smiling, Carly said, Same here. A few days later, Mrs. Hulda said, You can't just tell me you're leaving out of nowhere. What am I meant to do now? How am I supposed to find new tenants? Mrs. Hulda, landlord. The girl said, Ethel, are you moving? Why? Where? Are you going far? Can't you stay? Ethelred said, Well, actually, it was a sudden decision for us, too. While scolding Ethelred, Mrs. Hulda said, That's what renters always say. This is still too sudden. You're putting me in a difficult position. The girl said, Ethel, don't go. Mrs. Hulda said, Well, how am I supposed to return your deposit with no warning? Do you think money grows on trees? Carly also came there and heard their conversation. She asked, What was the rent? While introducing herself, she said, I'm Ethelred's guardian. I'm told he's paid his rent for this month. How much is the monthly rent? And the deposit? I'll pay it all. Mrs. Hulda said, Well, Carly said, You're not sure? Fine. I'll double it and then double it again. Carly gives lots of gold scions to landowner while she is confused. Carly said, I added some and rounded up. This should be enough. Take the extra as a gift. While looking at the coins, Mrs. Hulda thinks in her mind, This is more than enough money to buy a house. Carly said, Oh, and as for the deposit. She picks a coin from Mrs. Hulda's hands and said, I'll take it from here. After that, Mrs. Hulda and the girl left. Carly and Ethelred goes where Albert is admitted. While stretching her arms, Carly said, Okay, that should solve the rent issue. What else is left? Ethelred said, Aren't you rushing things a bit? Carly said, It's best to get things like these solved quickly. Someone might try to sabotage. Albert looks at Carly with a furious look. Carly said, Sir, you'll have to keep seeing me from now on. I'd prefer if you didn't always glare at me like that. It looks to Ethelred that a ferocious tiger and a crow are engaged in a battle. Our precious young lord, he's my husband. Ethelred said, Albert. Albert calms his mind and said, I'll respect your decision, my lord. While smiling, Carly said, in that case. She shows the contract to Albert and said, Please read the contract thoroughly and inform me of any changes that you'd like to make. While Albert is reading the contract, Carly said, I'll be sending a legal representative soon, so you can talk to him before making a decision. He looks like he couldn't even swat a fly, but he's very skilled. She said to Ethelred, Because Sir Albert is hospitalized, I'll leave the packing to you. Ethelred nods. Carly said, You only need to pack what you need. Don't bring any clothes or household items. We'll have to buy new ones anyway. While looking at himself and his clothes, Ethelred thinks in his mind, I guess these clothes probably don't meet their standard. While thinking, Carly said, What else was there? We have to hurry and get going. She remembers something and said, That's right. The guard you met last time is named Vika. I'll be having Vika and a few others guard you from now on. She said, Since the two of you are now legally related to me, you'll need the safety. While going away, she said, That's all for now. See you later. Ethelred said, All right, good. Carly slams the door. Ethelred thinks in his mind, She's like a natural disaster. A storm that sweeps through in an instant, and then just moves on. A few more days later. Ernest came to Ethelred and said, It's a pleasure to meet you, Lord Allard. My name is Ernest. I am the legal officer of the Browning Guild. Ethelred asked, Are you all right? While looking worn out, Ernest said, I've been a little busy lately, but I'm all right. The holidays are coming up, so I'll get some rest then. While looking at Ernest, Ethelred thinks in his mind, He looks like a refugee after a natural disaster. While his hands were trembling, Ernest gives the contract paper to Ethelred and said, Let's begin amending the contract. After a few moments, Ernest said with a serious look on his face, Okay, I'll take that as your confirmation that this is sufficient. If you have no other objections, we'll proceed like this. Ethelred thinks in his mind, He's a completely different person now. He said, All right. He thinks in his mind, She's right. He looks like he couldn't even kill a fly, but he's indeed skilled. Ernest said, All right. In that case, my work here is officially finished. Albert clears his throat. Ahem. Ahem. Albert said, There's one thing you've left out. Ernest asked, What is it? Albert said, Well, actually. He hesitates before saying. Ethelred asked, What? Is it serious? Tell me. Albert said, It's the issue of inheritance. If, just in the completely hypothetical, unlikely, rare event, that they sire some babes, how the children will split the inheritance, and how much it will be. While Ernest gapes, Ethelred asked Albert, What are you saying? He thinks in his mind, What? Bear children? E4, kid? Ethelred said, Albert, what on earth did you just say? Something about a child? While flustered, Albert said, My lord, I did not say it with any ill intent. But this is a marriage contract with a distinguished family, and therefore. Ernest said, It is a little absurd, but it's important to follow the proper procedure. It is best to clarify these things. Albert said, My lord, I'm not just some prattling old man. You listen up too, lawyer. While pushing his glasses, Ernest said, I understand your intentions for bringing this matter up, but the guildmaster's inheritors have already been decided, so there is no need for additional clauses in relation to that. He asked, Now then, do you have any other questions? Albert said, No, your explanation has been sufficient. Ernest said, All right then. We'll finish here for now. I'll see you next time. Ernest thinks in his mind, We already agreed to split Madame's wealth among us. You're not getting any, you hear? While back at the HQ, Amy said, How could it be that a marquis doesn't own his own house? Running a business sure is terrifying. How could someone squander all of that wealth? She said. I'd rather die than go into business. I'll live on my monthly paychecks forever. Carly said. I guarantee that you make more money than the average businessman in a year. Moreover, did you look into the Elad manor? Amy said. Everyone came to try to get a piece for themselves. I've never seen anything like it. While Carly is looking at the information, Amy said, it's a tangled web, so it will take a while to trace it all. Carly drops the paper on the table and said, if it's that bad, let's give up on this case instead of digging any further into it. Carly asked, Mason's back, right? I wonder if he got enough rest. Harper said, I'm sure he did. He even used up all of his vacation days for the rest of the year. Shall I call him in? Carly said, please do. She said, this may be a rushed marriage, but I still ought to prepare a wedding gift. Meanwhile, Ethelred asked, Albert, is it really all right for you to leave the hospital so soon? Albert, while standing up from bed, said, I'm much better, and the doctor agreed to it. Ethelred said, but... He heard a voice of clip-clop from outside. While looking through the window, he thinks in his mind, what's all this noise? A carriage came to the hospital. People were talking, what an incredible carriage! Isn't that the Brownings' carriage? The Brownings? What could such a large guild be doing at the hospital? Carly opened the carriage door and gets down from it. She looks towards Ethelred and waves at him. Ethelred thinks in his mind, is she waving at me? Carly came to where Albert was admitted and said, good morning. I came early because I heard you were being discharged, sir. Are you feeling better? Ethelred said he is, but we can get back home on our own. You didn't need to come all the way here. While scratching her head, Carly said, actually, since our wedding is today, I thought I might as well help you with your luggage. Ethelred said, ah yes, the wedding? While shocked, he said, huh! The wedding? While winking, Carly said, Lord Allard, let us become one today. Ethelred said, excuse me? This is too sudden. Carly asked, oh? Is there a reason today doesn't work? Ethelred said while fidgeting, well no, but... Albert shouted with anger, how ignorant can one possibly? Carly interrupts him and said, oh, I see you're healthy enough to get angry. Ethelred hugs Albert to calm him down and said, hey Albert, don't get mad. You'll faint again. Let's go for now. While pointing her finger, Carly said, well then, let us be off down the path of love. Ethelred thinks in his mind, love. I think love would be the one emotion that won't ever exist between me and that woman. They rode the carriage together. Carly said, actually, we have to stop by somewhere before going to the government office. While looking outside the carriage, Ethelred asked, where? Carly said, let's just call it a wedding gift. They stopped at some place. Albert looks through the window and said, this is the Allard townhouse. While standing inside the manor, Albert is in awe. He said, how could this be? Carly told, after the mother of the previous marquis passed away, he was forced to sell this mansion for dirt cheap. I thought all of your properties were auctioned off for business funds and gambling debts. She tells, but after I looked into the Allard family's old assets to see what happened to them, I found out that this mansion has been preserved just as it was. Ethelred asked, how did you manage to get it back? Carly said, Mason, our head guard, worked quite hard for it. While showing the documents, she said, here. This is the proof of rights to the manor under your name. We finalized it late last night. Ethelred said, I can't accept this. Carly asked, why not? Ethelred said, I haven't prepared anything to offer you. Carly said, well, look at you, worrying about such things. Carly grabs Ethelred's hand and starts walking. She said, from now on, I have a great deal to receive. She said while walking, now, where was the back door again? It should be about time. I wonder if they've all arrived. While following Carly, Ethelred asked, huh? What on earth are you talking about? While opening the door, Carly said, here it is. Outside the door, lots of people are gathered to ask questions. One of them said, "Master of the Brownings, is it true that you will be marrying an heir of nobility?" The other said, "You've decided to marry after constant rejections. Did you have a change of heart? Did the hotel incident cause you to change your mind?" Carly puts her hand on Ethelred's shoulder and said, "Come on. Don't be so stiff. Give them a big smile." Ethelred thinks in his mind. I realized later that this comment from Carly only sounded nice. In content, it was no different from something you'd hear from a hoodlum in an alleyway. "Flash them pearly whites, will ya?" Carly asked Ethelred. "What should we do now, Lord Ethelred?" She said, "First, let's act like we're close." One of the guy from press asked, "How did the final settlement go with the Baron who caused the mess at the hotel?" Another asked, "Apparently your husband is 16 years younger than you. Will your future child be a part of the guild?" Carly said, Some of them are truly asking about an heir. Disgusting." She said with her mouth closed, "Anyone 16 years younger than me is still essentially a baby suckling on their mother's teat. It seems these reporters don't use their brains anymore." Ethelred thinks in his mind, she can talk with her mouth closed? Carly said, "This is why I hate press conferences. They take even the smallest tidbits and then just..." Carly stops middle sentence. She looks at Ethelred while he is nervous. She gets close to Ethelred and said, "Humans sure are funny, aren't they? Don't be so nervous. No matter what happens, I'll be here by your side." Ethelred thinks in his mind. "She's awfully close." Carly said, "Welcome to this side of the world, young prince." Despite how much people talked about the marriage of the Browning Guild master, the wedding itself was quiet and simple. In lieu of any sort of ceremony, they merely signed a marriage certificate at the government office. Government official said, "So the two of you have come to register your marriage?" While showing the document, she said, "You'll need to sign this document." Ethelred looks at the contract nervously. The contents ID the marriage document were as follows: "In accordance with the kingdom's law, I shall follow the marriage registration procedure and agree to be truthfully and lawfully married. Signed, Ethelred Elad." The government official said, "It's complete. The two of you are now legally married." After that, Carly said to Ethelred, "Great! Let's go." She extends her hand towards Ethelred and said, "Let's go back to our house." While looking towards her, Ethelred thinks in his mind, "It's been years since I used my full name. This isn't just a signature. It's my commitment to fulfill the promise I made to her. Even if it's fake." The next day, while lying in bed, Ethelred looks at the ceiling and thinks in his mind, "This ceiling feels unfamiliar. The ceiling in our house has wood and bricks sticking out of it. So why am I seeing a bed canopy and a frame? Am I dreaming?" He remembers Carly saying "our house" in his mind. Then he quickly rises from bed and looks around him and thinks in his mind, "Oh yeah, I moved." Albert came and asked, "Did you cough, master?" Ethelred asked, Albert? What are you wearing?" Albert said, "I've decided to give my utmost in my duty as a butler." Ethelred said, "Oh, Albert, the way you're calling me master is..." Albert said, "I beg your forgiveness for my lack of manners over the years. Ever since the previous Marquis passed away and you were given your title, I should have been addressing you properly as master. But despite that, I continued to use my old method of address." While clenching his hands, Ethelred thinks in his mind, "Yeah, I guess I can't keep acting like a baby and being called young lord forever. After all, I'm a married man who's established a name for himself now." He thinks it's time to act like an adult. Carly was reading paper while sitting. She heard the knock-knock sound, and the door opens. She looks towards Ethelred and said, "Good morning, your lordship. Did you sleep well?" Ethelred said, "Good morning." Carly said, "You're here early? Could you sit there and wait for a moment?" While sitting, Ethelred said, "Yes. Take your time." After that, Carly keeps reading paper. Ethelred thinks in his mind. The only sound is her flipping through the pages. This silence is awkward and uncomfortable. He thinks, should I try to start some small talk? He remembers in his mind Carly saying, don't be so nervous. No matter what happens, I'll be here by your side. After remembering that, he blushes. Carly looks at him and said, Oh, right. About the Allard townhouse. She said, if the owner of the mansion is in agreement, we'd like to repair it. What do you think? We'll do our best to restore it to its original state, so we would appreciate your counsel, sir. While smiling, Albert said, Of course. I will give whatever I can. Ethelred looks at Albert and thinks in his mind, Albert looks happy. Even for me, although it was a short time, I still made a lot of nice memories and… He thinks, don't let it show. I need to act like an adult. Ethelred clears his throat. Ahem. Why, you may do as you please, darling. Both Carly and Albert are surprised after hearing that. Ethelred blushes after saying that. Carly asks, Darling? What darling? Darling. Did you, darling? Carly starts laughing. Ethelred said, Darling? Then what am I supposed to call you, huh? Dearest? Honey? Carly keeps laughing. Carly said while laughing, Ahem. Wait, there's something in my throat, a cough. Despite the new groom Ethelred's best efforts to play his part, things went to shambles within the first day. While laughing, Carly said, Ha! Ha! Why, you're right. We are married, after all. So I suppose I am indeed your darling. She said, Ha! I finally understand how people can die laughing. Sorry for bursting out laughing all of a sudden. I apologize if that was rude. She said, I didn't mean anything by it. I just didn't expect to be called darling so suddenly. Don't be hurt. You're not mad, are you, my dear? While Albert glares at her, Carly thinks in her mind. Albert seems angry. That makes me want to rile him up a bit more, but I suppose I ought to stop here. Carly said, Just call me Carly. That would make me feel more comfortable, Lord Ethelred. Ethelred said, Then please, just call me Ethelred. Carly said, Oh please, how could I possibly address your lordship so casually? Ethelred said, Could you stop calling me that? Carly said, We'll see. She said, Anyway, can I go through your schedule for today? First, I would appreciate your help with the mansion repairs, sir. As for my dear over here, he needs to be shown around the house and… While she was talking, someone slams the door open. Amy came and said, Hello. Amy rose with nothing to do, reporting for duty. Carly, while annoyed, said, I believe I asked our butler to give a tour of the guild. Amy said, Yeah, I volunteered instead. Carly thinks in her mind, So you decided on your own to come here then? While grabbing Ethelred's arm, Amy said, Come on, let's go. Ethelred said, Wait dash. Amy said, We need all the time we can get if we want to look through this entire house. Carly said while waving, Have a nice time. Ethelred talks in his mind. In the end, Carly didn't tell me how she plans to address me. While Ethelred is following Amy while walking. Ethelred talks in his mind, I have a few questions. 1. Is she some sort of professional performer? Amy turns her head towards him and said, We saw each other briefly at the hospital before, right? But I don't believe we exchanged formal greetings. While showing her outfit, she said, I wanted to leave a good impression on the guildmaster's husband, so I worked especially hard on my outfit today. Ethelred thinks in his mind, If she's not a performer, what on earth is with that outfit? His next question is, 2. How does she have so much energy in the morning? Ethelred asked, Did you say your name was Amy? Amy starts babbling, Please call me Amy Rose. Actually, I have something I wanted to ask you as the guildmaster's husband. Mr. Guildmaster's husband, what did you like about our guildmaster that made you decide to marry her? She keeps on babbling while Ethelred is annoyed. She said, Also, I have another question. Mr. Guildmaster's husband, what do you and our guildmaster Ethelred thinks in his mind, save me. Amy said, oh, and another. She stops talking for a moment, and looks towards a person lying on the floor in pain. Ethelred thinks in his mind, is he dead? Amy checks up on Ernest and said, hey, Ernest. You usually sleep in. What are you doing out here so early? Ernest said, it's not that I came out. Rather, I haven't yet made it in see. While Amy is slapping her, Ernest said, oh ow, stop hitting me. Amy said, do you feel proud ignoring orders? Madam told you to return to your room, old man. Get up. The guildmaster's husband is here. Ernest quickly rises up and while wiping his drool he said, oh my. It's been a while since I've seen the guildmaster's husband. While smiling, Ethelred said, yes, it has been a while, Ernest. His third question is 3. How long are they going to call me the guildmaster's husband? Amy said, I believe I've shown you most of the important facilities. She turns towards Ethelred and asks, do you have any questions? Ethelred said, heard this house was for the guildmaster. Do the guild's members also live here? Ernest said, not all the time, but we do come here often for work. Miss Harper, our aide, basically lives here when she's busy, so she even has her own room. Amy said, that's right. Despite his appearance, Ernest is still the head of the legal department, and I, Amy Rose, am the accounting genius of the financial department. As such, Madam relies on me quite a bit. While looking at her, Ethelred thinks in his mind, does an accounting genius really need to be dressed like that? What a terrible sight. It's almost like she's trying to intimidate her enemies. While winking, Amy said, but don't worry. It's unlikely that any employee would come all the way into the house. No one will disturb your love nest. While pointing, she said, now then, let's wrap up our mansion adventure here and head over to the guild's headquarters, shall we? Ernest said, this is the entrance to the guild's first-floor lobby. You can use this to visit the guild. While opening the door, he said, you may be a little surprised when you do. You'll know what I mean once you go in. There are so many races, genders, and ages. While looking at the people present there, Ethelred thinks in his mind, I can't believe so many different types of people are all in one place. He said to Ernest, there's a lot of people. Ernest said, that's because the workday's starting. One of the people greets them. Miss Amy! Mr. Ernest! Hello, Ac! Ernest said, oh my. I knew this would happen. Another person said, good morning, Eek. Hello, every, wah. Whoa. Wow. Huh. Ethelred said, is there something on my face? Why is everyone so shocked at seeing me? Ernest said, it's not you. Your marriage was reported in both the morning and evening newspaper yesterday. Amy said, and in great detail at that. She said, they're probably just surprised because they now recognize you as the guildmaster's husband. Ethelred thinks in his mind, they're not just surprised. They're extremely wary of me. Maybe I'll just go back to my room. Harriet also came there and said, I was wondering what the ruckus was. I see the young lord is here. Dr. Arden, Harriet asked, was the food to your liking? I told the kitchen to serve food that's easy on the stomach for a while. Did you have a good sleep in your new bedroom? Have you had any health issues as you adjust? Ethelred said, I'm just fine. Thank you for your concern. Harriet said, no need to thank me. You should be thanking Madam. She was worried about your health in your new environment, so she asked us to put in some extra care. Ethelred said, huh? What do you mean? Who? Harriet said, I usually reside in the nurse's office in that corner. Come see me anytime you aren't feeling well. Ethelred said, I meant to ask if the person who told you all to do this was. While they were talking, Carly also came there. While waving, she said, there you are, my dear. You're exploring this side already? While looking at Carly, Ethelred thinks in his mind, seeing her walking over with a smile on her face like that gave me a feeling. He thinks in his mind, she's going to pull another embarrassing joke. Carly hugs Ethelred all of a sudden and said, excuse me for a moment. While hugging Ethelred, Carly said, This is harder than I thought. Ethelred asked Carly, What are you? While Ethelred was talking, Carly said, All done. While she gets back, she said, It suits you. While looking at the chain with the ring, Ethelred said, This is. Carly said, Yep. It's our engagement ring. Since you're going to keep growing, I made it to fit the average grown man. Just wear it as a necklace for now. While showing another ring, Carly said, I have one too. Ethelred thinks in his mind, Does she want me to put it on her finger? Right. I should take responsibility in playing the husband's role. Ethelred extends his hand to reach the ring, but Carly quickly turns her head and said, Ernie, are you free right now? Carly puts the ring on her finger by herself. The people present there started talking to each other. Oh, she put it on herself. I came to be entertained. TSK. Her husband even reached out his hand like that. Harper came there and said, Are none of you planning to do any work? All of them gets back to their work. Amy asked, Anyway, are you going out, madam? Carly replied, Yes. This is actually perfect. Come with us, Amy. She said, Me? Are you going to go extract assets from somewhere? While Amy is listening, she said, I was thinking of going with just Ernie, but I like how you're dressed. It makes you look strong. Were you aiming to appear like a powerful warrior of sorts? While feeling discontent, Amy said, What does that mean? You have no eye for beauty at all, madam. Am I supposed to just go and stand there like some sort of bronze statue? While smiling, Carly said, Why, yes, that would be just perfect. I'll bet 3 pieces of gold that everyone will be intimidated. Carly looks towards Ethelred and said, But if I take Amy, who will guide the young lord today? Ethelred said, I can retire to my room now. He thinks in his mind, The truth is, I just want to get some rest, and while he was thinking, Harper said, I'll do it. While Ethelred is looking at Harper while confused, Carly asked, Would you? While Carly was dragging Amy and Ernest away, Ernest said to Amy, Honestly, your clothes make you look like a butterfly. Amy said to Ernest, What are you saying, you old man? Carly said to Harper, Then I'll leave it up to you. Let's hurry, guys. While going away, Carly said, Have fun looking around. After they left, there remains only 2 inch. Harper asked Ethelred, Shall we go? Ethelred said, All right. Ethelred thinks in his mind, I'm still not too comfortable with Miss Harper. She always seems angry, and she has such an unfriendly way about her that I find her hard to approach. Harper said, You may visit up to the 3rd floor, your lordship. The 4th floor is open only to a few members. As for today, I will show you around the office and the military aid to civil authorities room. Harper shows Ethelred around the guild. Harper said, There is a cafeteria on the 1st floor. Would you like to have some milk tea or ice cream after the tour? Of course, there is also coffee and cookies. While looking at Harper, Ethelred tells in his mind, Maybe she's not as scary as I thought. After a few days, while getting ready, Ethelred tells in his mind, It's been a few days since I arrived here. I've gotten somewhat used to living in the Browning house, and I'm now familiar with the inside of the mansion. He tells once in a while, someone close to Carly comes to show me around the headquarters, mostly Miss Harper. And the guild members have been mostly kind to me. He remembers in his mind people saying to him, Guildmaster's husband, good morning! Guildmaster's husband, good morning! Guildmaster's husband, are you here for a bit of fun today? Would you like some candy? He tells, Before I knew it, the ridiculous name Guildmaster's husband took root, and though I did see Carly every day, we barely spent any time together. While holding the books, Ethelred thinks in his mind, I'll go read in the garden today. He tells in his mind, After all, I assume this is what most marriages are like when they're in name only. I'm sure there's no one in the garden anyway, so. Ethelred went to garden where he saw Carly lying down. He tells in his mind, I saw my wife lying down in the garden fields. I wasn't sure whether or not I ought to go and talk to her. While Carly was lying down, she puts one of her arm on her face and thought, It's so bright. I should have brought my hat. Perhaps I should go fetch it now. Ugh, no. It's too far. I'll just stay here. While Ethelred come close to her lying down, Carly smiles and thinks in her mind, Nice timing. Carly said, Since you're here, could you stand a little bit to the side? Ethelred was surprised. Huh! He tries to stand where Carly was saying. She said, Not that way. To the left. Ethelred said, Right here. Carly gets up and said, Perfect. My handy portable parasol is complete. Carly brushes her hair with her hand and asked, How did you know I was here? It shouldn't be easy to see this place from outside. Ethelred said, I can see it from my room. Carly looks to where Ethelred's room is and said, "That makes sense. I had never been found before because that room was always empty." Ethelred said, "I thought you were someone else, so I hesitated for a long time." While smiling, Carly said, "Oh, today is my resting day. That's why I'm dressed so comfortably." Carly said, "Have a seat." "You slept in today?" Ethelred said. "I went to sleep late last night, so." Ethelred sits beside Carly. Carly said, "I see." After a pause, she said, "This was such a great place for naps. I guess I'll have to find a new place now." Ethelred asked, "Why?" Carly said, "Because you've discovered it." Ethelred thinks in his mind, "So she likes hiding where no one can find her, like a child with a secret hideout?" Ethelred said, "If you want this place to stay a secret, I won't tell anybody." Carly looks towards Ethelred while smiling and said, "All right then. Keep my secret from me." Ethelred's heart races as Carly looks towards him. He then said, "I promise." Carly and Ethelred started talking to each other about different things. Ethelred said, "That's why I never expected he'd be Mrs. Magenta's killer." Carly said, "You've never seen a plot twist like that before, have you?" Ethelred said, "I haven't. In the first half, I was sure that Colonel Mossgreen was the culprit." Carly thinks in her mind, "He likes books more than I thought. I'm glad I brought books to the library." While smiling, Carly said, "I know. No one could have expected that Peacock Blue's teaspoon incident was foreshadowing something like that." Carly said, "Anyway, I can't believe you managed to find that book in the library. I hid it between two other books on purpose." Ethelred said, "I remember all of the books that I bring in, you see." He said, "I knew right away because the cover was different." Carly said, "So that's why you woke up so late. You were so engrossed in your book that you lost track of time." Ethelred said, "Yes." Carly said, "The second book in that series is even better, you know." He asked, "There's another book?" She said, "Good heavens. You really don't know a thing, do you?" While extending her hands towards him, Carly said, "There are 7 more books in the series." She said, "Want to go with me? I'll lend them to you." Carly shows the remaining 6 books to Ethelred. She said, "I'm always surprised by how many books there are. It must have been difficult to bring all of these from home." These books were of different genre: government, land management, strategy, directing, geography, language. Carly asked, "Have you really read and memorized all of these?" Ethelred replied, "Yes, but this is my first time reading a mainstream novel." While surprised, Carly asked, "What? Did Albert not allow you to read them?" Ethelred said, "Yes. He said that it wasn't good writing and that I should be prudent in selecting what I read." Carly asked, "How could you not have known the joy of a good novel? Adventure novels are simply enrapturing. After this, how about reading Platinum Gold the Phantom Thief?" Ethelred asked, "What is that one about?" While chuckling, Carly said, "I can't tell you. It'll be more fun if you read it for yourself. Shall I lend it to you?" Ethelred said, "Yes, I would like to read it." While they were talking to each other, Marie knocks on the door. While pushing the serving cart, Marie said, "I have brought some refreshments." Carly said, "Oh, Marie! Perfect. Let's take a break from all this book talk and break bread." While serving the tea, Marie said, "Be careful, it's hot." Ethelred said, "All right. Thank you." While Marie was leaving, Carly asked Ethelred, "So, how is it living here?" He said, "It's been nice. Everyone has been very good to me." While drinking tea, she said, "That's a relief." Ethelred said, Carly. Ethelred said, "I wanted to thank you. I believe it's thanks to you that Dr. Arden is checking up on me," he said, "and taking care of me, and the guild members are visiting me so often. And now you're even lending me books. I appreciate all that you've done." Carly thinks in her mind, when he puts it like that, it makes me feel like a bit of a bad person. She tells in her mind while remembering the contract. Technically, Lord Allard completed his part of the contract as soon as he signed the marriage certificate. She tells, "That's why I decided to guarantee him the utmost freedom and rights. Once he grows up a bit, I was planning on leaving him be so that he can spread his wings a little. Although, that doesn't mean I'm going to set him free completely." While sipping tea, she thinks in her mind, "That's why I ordered Dr. Arden and Harper to take care of him. It's care, but really closer to surveillance." She tells in her mind, "However, my order ended up being of no particular use because this little kid happened to just stay inside and mind his own business anyway." Carly remembers her conversation with Harper in her mind. Carly asked, "All he does is read books the entire day? How could that be?" Harper replied, When he is not being visited by me or any of the other members, he is always reading books in the library or the garden. Carly thinks in her mind, what could he be reading so intently? While looking at the bookshelves, she tells, It was a small thing that I did on a whim. In that dreary bookshelf with not a single fairy tale or novel, I left a mystery novel that I enjoyed as a child. Carly puts the teacup on table and asked, What other books do you like? Ethelred said, I like Abbott's Encyclopedia of Numbers and… Carly interrupts him and said, What on earth is that? Ugh, I don't even want to hear what it's about. Ethelred said, No, it's really quite enjoyable. I used to beg Al to read it to me before bed when I was young. Carly said, But you're still young. Just how young do you mean? While peeking from the side of the door, Marie said, Carly, I've come to take away the dish. She looks at Ethelred and Carly busy talking to each other while laughing. She quietly shuts the door and left. Ethelred said, Then later today, could we have dinner together? He said, We could talk about books and whatnot. Carly said, Sure. Let's do that. Ethelred tells in his mind, After that day, I often borrowed books from Carly, and as a result, we began talking more and spent more time dining together. Carly opens the door and said, I'm here. Have you had lunch? Ethelred asked, You're here early? You're not finished with work, are you? While stretching her arms, Carly said, Of course not. I'm just stopping by. Ethelred said, Then let's have lunch together. While sitting down, Carly said, Yes, all right. She looks towards Ethelred and thinks in her mind, What's he reading today? With an agitated expression she said, Modern Capital and Law? What does that mean? You can understand that? Ethelred said. Pardon? It's written in English, no? Carly said while picking up the book. Oh, I read this book when I was taking classes at the guild, she said. This reminds me of old times. While looking at the book, she thinks in her mind, It's in relatively good shape, but it's still a bit shabby from its age. She thinks while staring at Ethelred, Has he been reading the same books repeatedly because he didn't have the money to buy more? Ethelred asked. Carly? Is something on my face? While standing up, she said, No, I was just thinking, shall we go now? Let's have lunch, Ethelred said while walking. Could I ask what you were thinking about? Carly replied, It's a secret, Ethelred said. All right. Carly thinks in her mind, perhaps I shall buy him some books. No, I'll buy him an entire bookstore. The next day, Carly called for Ethelred. When he came, she invited him in and then apologized for calling him. She said, Yes, please come in. I apologize for calling you in when you're busy. I just have something to give you. Ethelred replied. It's okay. I wasn't busy anyway. I was in the library. She asked. Really? That's a relief. Anyway, have a seat. I'll just take this out. Have you perhaps been feeling bored these days, your lordship? Do you not venture outside? He said. I do go out occasionally, she said. Are you talking about the times when Amy Rose drags you outside? She told him, You can go out whenever you please. If you tell the butler or the head maid, they will call the guards and prepare a carriage for you. Also take this. Then she presented him with an envelope and a bag. She said, A checkbook and a bunch of cash. Use it when you need to. You can buy new books if you want, or anything else, really. Wait, do you know how to write a check? It can be confusing at first. I'll teach you, so just… Ethelred cut her off, saying, Pardon me, Carly. I'm not sure if it's all right for me to say this, but… Carly got confused for a moment. She said, Go ahead. I'm listening. She thinks in her mind, This polite kid is cutting me off? How important could this be? He spoke. Perhaps it would be best to use money sparingly? I understand that you're rich, but handing me a blank checkbook like this is… Carly was startled for a moment. She wasn't expecting that. Then she said, All right, fine. It seems I have explained things to you in the wrong order. She then writes on a piece of paper. Giving it to Ethelred, she said, Here. This is the guild's official net profit from the last quarter. It was 546,812,351 gold. She continued, Of course, this is just the guild's funds. My assets are separate. I learned through business that I should always be wary of certainty, but I am sure of one thing. While I'm alive, no one will be able to bankrupt the Brownings. So let's practice writing checks, okay? The next day, Harper reported that there was a fire in one of their storages. Carly asked, And the casualties? Harper replied, We are currently investigating. Carly asked, What did the safety department say? She told. The last thing we heard was that they have begun to put out the fire. It will take time before we learn whether it was arson or an accident, Carly instructed. We'll worry about things like that later. Rescuing the employees is our main concern right now. In the meeting, Carly, Amy, and different employees sat to discuss the issue. One of them reported, the fire began at night, so it was discovered late. On top of that, the dry weather and wind have made it even more difficult to put out the flames. Everything may have burned down. We should all prepare for the worst. Carly bit her lips in anger and regret. A fire broke out in a storage room on the outskirts of the capital during the night. Of all the storage rooms, this one just so happened to hold all of the high-end products that were to be exhibited at a department store for the king's birthday ceremony. The king's birthday is the time of year when people spend the most money, so sales during this period are vital. Now that the products bought for this period have all burned away, the guild will suffer a great loss. The timing could not have been worse. We have to check the leftover products on the market first. Even so, we can't acquire handmade products from artisans that quickly. Luckily, the products coming from the south are. Then Carly ordered. When the messenger comes, check for any casualties first. And Amy, if there are any deaths, begin by establishing a compensation plan for the families. Let's continue the meeting. After the meeting, she returned to her manor where Marie greeted her. Welcome, madam. Thank you for working so late into the night. Would you like anything to eat? Carly replied. No. Please just prepare the bath. You must have been unable to sleep because of me. I'm sorry for that. Go rest, Marie replied. It is my duty. Please get some rest, madam. As she was climbing up the stairs, she was planning for her next move. My head hurts. I have to confirm the sales reorganization plan tomorrow, too. I guess all we can do is focus mainly on imported goods. But that would mean re-establishing our target age and… She opens the door and saw Ethelred sleeping on the sofa. She called, Your lordship? He woke up and said, Ah, Carly. Welcome back. She asked. Your lordship? Why aren't you in bed? He walks towards her and said, I heard there was an accident. She asked. Did you wait up for me because of that? It's fine. The fire has been put out, and thankfully there have been no deaths, he said. Good job taking care of it. Looking at him, Carly thinks. The truth is, until I walked into this room, I had completely forgotten about this kid's existence. After all, it wasn't long ago that I was alone in here. Being comforted in a place where I've always been alone is kind of… No, it's just late. That's all. I'm tired and sleepy. She then said you should get going now. It's quite late. I will be going to bed as well, so… She then notices a vase of flowers in front of the window. She thinks, I don't have any flowers in the house. I didn't want to give the staff any extra work by asking them to tend to flowers. She asked, These flowers, are they your doing, my lord? He blushed and said, Ah, yes. She asked, Really? Are they to cheer me up? Thank you. Then he said night and dashes away. After that, Carly looks towards flowers and said they are pretty. After that, for a few days, Carly and the guild's special task force was extremely busy. After she returned home, the maid greeted her. Welcome, madam. Have you eaten? Due to lack of sleep, she was feeling tired, she said. No. I have to change and then go right back. While opening the door, she thinks, maybe I'll ask her to bring my clothes to the office next time. She found more flowers lying on the table. Caressing the lowers, she thinks, these look like flowers from a store. They were in a cup full of water at first, but now they're in a vase. It started with a few nice and simple flowers, but they've been increasing in number, she said to herself. I told you to buy things like books, things that you like. Why are you buying things like this? After a few days at a meeting, Carly said, You know, it's actually nice once you get used to it. Amy asked. What is? She said. Having flowers around. Amy wasn't expecting that. She then whispered to Ernest, Old man, come with me for a moment. Do you think she means regular flowers, or could flowers be a pet name for her husband? He whispered back, Hard to say. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed when it comes to figures of speech and whatnot. Amy asked. Didn't you study humanities? You're never any help when I need it, he told. I studied law, she whispered. Look at her face. She's lost her head. If that's not the look of someone in love, then I don't know what is, Ernest said. I think she's just sleepy. Signing the last document, Carly told the final confirmation for the documents is complete. She announced, We're all done. Everyone, Go home! Right now! All of them cheered with excitement. The people at the guild rushed to go home. Carly was watching as people left the guild office. She said, "Everyone sure is excited." She looks at the flower that was near her and picks up a flower. Then she said, "After receiving all of this, I suppose I should give something in return. I need to go visit Albert sometime soon." Meanwhile, Albert was arguing with the servant about the colors of the carpet. The servant said, "Here are the pieces of red fabric that you requested." Albert yelled, "The colors are different." Servant said, "Red is red, you darn butler. What's different about it?" Albert asked. "What are you saying?" He shouted as if his heart was ablaze. "This is crimson, and this is carmine. In the home of the Marquis, we have traditionally used the noble crimson dye for the carpets on the stairs. As it is my mission to restore the extensive traditions of Lord Ethelred." As he was speaking, Carly came and greeted them. "How are you doing, sir? It's nice to see you again, Delano," he said. "Do my eyes deceive me, or is that our guild master? You look excellent. Could it be the effect of your marriage?" Carly said. "You might be the first and last person to say that to me." "How's work going here?" he answered. "It's going smoothly. Although the butler that you sent sure is fastidious," she said. "I actually came to check how satisfied that butler is." Albert greeted her with a distant face. Carly asked, "Are you going to make that face every time you see me?" He then said, "Greetings, Master Carly," she said. "So you're still calling me that? I told you to just call me Madam." Then she said, "Actually, I have something to tell you, sir. Would you take a walk with me?" Walking in the garden, Carly said, "This place was full of trees the last time I saw it. It seems a lot of them have been cut down. Doesn't it feel too empty now?" Albert replied, "After the large materials are brought up, we will start tending to the garden properly," she said. "I see. It's a relief to see that you're doing so well, sir. I'm glad I left things in your hands." Hearing that, Albert doesn't speak for a moment. Then he stops and bowed his head. He said, "I would like to thank you once again for reclaiming this mansion." Carly said, "No need. I said it was a wedding gift, but I was also trying to buy your favor, sir," he said. "I am aware. But regardless, I am grateful," she said. "Hearing you speak makes me realize who the young lord takes after. The truth is, there's something else that I wanted to speak to you about. You likely heard from his lordship already, but I received an invitation from the Sovereign Council." She thinks in her mind. The Sovereign Council. A meeting of the most long-standing, traditional, prestigious nobles of the kingdom. There is no way such stuck-up people would invite a mere merchant. It was an invitation that could only be received by a marquis and his wife. She asked, "Would you like for the young lord to go there, sir?" Albert replied, "I am not in the position to make any decisions." She thinks in her mind. The Sovereign Council is a very exclusive group. Some people may be removed from the group, but none are added. Could it really be out of kindness that they would invite a commoner and a noble from a long-fallen family to their banquet? And is it really right for me, as an adult, to bring a child to that kind of place? Before coming to Albert, she asked Ethelred if he wanted to go. He asked, "A banquet by the Sovereign Council?" She said, "Yes. Would you like to go?" He replied, seeing the letter. I will go if you do." Back to the present, she takes a sigh and then said, "All right, sir. Please tell me everything you know about the Sovereign Council. Don't leave anything out." After a few days they went to boutique to get clothes for Ethelred. Ethelred wasn't told about this. Ethelred read the name. "Senora Bello. A boutique?" he asked. "What are we doing at a boutique? I have plenty of clothes already," Carly said. "Trust me. Also, be careful," he asked. "Pardon? Be careful of what?" The door opens with a slam and the boutique owner hugs Carly tightly. "Why, if it isn't Madam," Carly said. "Anita, I can't breathe." She kissed her and said, "My oh my, how long has it been? It seems you've grown a little, too." Feeling annoyed a little, Carly said, "I saw you just a few weeks ago. Someone is with me. I imagine you'll be curious about him as well. Over there." Looking at Ethelred, Anita's eyes glowed. She said, "Oh my goodness gracious! If it isn't the guildmaster's husband! Well, if you aren't just the most slender, beautiful little thing! I'm Anita Bello." She squeezed his cheeks as Ethelred introduced himself. I'm a Felwed." "A what?" Anita said. "Ooh, I could just eat you up." After a few moments, Carly told Ethelred about the banquet. He asked, "A banquet?" She winks at him and said, "Yes, a banquet. You'll need new clothes if you're going to a banquet by the Sovereign Council. That's why we're here, he said. But Carly, I thought you didn't want to go. Carly replied, not particularly. I'm just being careful. She thinks it's quite a bother, to be honest. There's a lot I need to study if I'm going to meet traditional nobles face to face. As Anita was taking measurements of Ethelred, she said, Oh, Lord Almighty! Would you just look at this boy? Hair like the sleek feathers of a raven. Eyes that shine like jewels. Clear skin and beautiful shoulders. He's quite the specimen. Perhaps even the most handsome man in the kingdom. Ethelred felt awkward. He said, Please, that's too much. Feeling completely determined, she said, I can't give him just anything to wear, now can I? Allow me the honor of dressing you in the most wonderful clothes the world has to offer. She starts rummaging through her closet. As she was looking, she said, No, this simply won't do. Before you go, I insist that you try on a few different combinations. What would befit the likes of a boy like that? A shirt with a broad collar? Or perhaps a frill? Carly said. I'll leave it to you then, Anita, she said. Don't worry your pretty little head. I will make you two the talk of the town. Carly recalls a scene from earlier. Amy was pestering Carly. If you don't want to go, let me pretend to be you and go instead. Harper encouraged her to go. Where there are people, there is money. You simply must go, she said in her mind. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I don't want to go. And now here I am. My sweet peace and quiet. I hardly knew ye. Looking at her, Ethelred said, It's not that I wanted to go to the party. I was just curious. Recalling his past, he thinks in his mind, I don't know what it is to be a noble. I grew up a commoner, after all. But even then, I didn't fit into the ranks of the commoners either. That's why I wanted to see the nobles up close. At least once, anyway. I was curious whether even I could feel a sense of belonging. I wonder if Carly understood these thoughts of mine. As he was busy thinking, Anita started taking measurements of Carly. Carly asked, You have to take my measurements again? She said. I'll just check if there are any changes. After all, you are still growing, madam. Hearing that, Ethelred imagines Carly growing taller and taller from him. He thinks, she's already so much taller than me. She's going to grow even taller? I don't think I've grown at all yet. Then Carly said, That's right. Please also make some new clothes for Lord Allard while you have his measurements. For now, I believe we will just need clothes for staying home, going out, having breakfast, and having dinner, Ethelred said. I already have a lot of clothes, though. She refused him. No. Those are all manufactured. You need to wear custom-made clothes, Anita said. You need white pants too, madam. I can do around 10 right away, Carly replied. Oh, that's right. Please do that as well, then, Ethelred said. Why would you need so many pairs of pants? White pants get dirty very quickly, you know. Arlie and Anita looks at each other, as in disbelief. Then Carly said, That's exactly why people wear white, she explained. Think about it. Do the rich clean and wash their clothes themselves? They don't need to. They can take care of that with money. White clothes get dirty easily, and that's why nobles like to wear them. It's a symbol of their wealth. It's also somewhat of a measuring stick for people. It's silly, but it's reality. Especially among the nobles in the Sovereign Council. As she said that, she thinks. And that's also why I don't want to bring him there. Hearing that, Ethelred thinks in his mind. Carly's right. It's not just clothes that I need for this banquet. I also must be in the right frame of mind to deal with the nobles there. But, he spoke, that's awfully stupid. Hearing that, Carly smiles. She said, Isn't it? I think so too. I've never seen such a wasteful practice. But it's out of our hands. That's what the rules are. So if we're going to go play, we need to follow them. Just don't think about it too much. We have a lot to prepare for, and you'll tire yourself out worrying about every single thing. Ethelred gets confused. Prepare? She said. But of course. First, you must learn how to dance. We don't have much time, she told him. It's a banquet. Did you think there wouldn't be dancing? If you don't want the nobles to disapprove of you, you'll need to learn as quickly as you can. Ethelred gets surprised, he said. What? After that, Ethelred started learning dance. As an instructor guides him, he practices dance. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And turn. Careful. Great, the instructor said. Let's stop here and take a break. While he was taking break, Carly came and asked, Is practice going well? She said, I had some time, so I came to see you. How's it going? The instructor told Carly that. He has mastered various steps quite quickly. His outstanding talent makes it hard to believe he's a beginner, Carly said. Very impressive, your lordship, Ethelred said. I'm still not used to it. I keep making the wrong steps. She sits in sofa besides him and asked, Is it that difficult? He replied, I've somewhat grasped the etiquette and conversational skills of high society, but as far as dancing goes, I'm still a little worried that I might make mistakes, Carly said. Well, if you make a mistake, just breeze past it. Your basic manners vastly exceed mine already, your lordship. She winked at him and said, Don't be so nervous. You're not alone anyway. You have me. As they were, Marie came with tea. I apologize for interrupting your conversation. It seemed like you were on a break, so I brought some drinks. It's iced herb tea, Ethelred said. Oh, thank you, Marie said. Don't mention it. Please call me again if you need anything. Goodbye, Carly said. Thank you, Marie. Oh, miss. Please take a break as well, she then said. One other thing, your lordship. Think twice before you drink whatever they give you at the banquet. He froze as he was about to take a sip. She continued, They say it's best to choose clear drinks when in areas that are open in all directions, like rooms for parties. Don't choose drinks that have murky colors or mixes like cocktails. If someone offers you one, just accept it and pretend to drink it. If you're going to eat anything, avoid plates that have food no one has touched. Ethelred asked, Do secret power struggles like those from the novels actually happen? Carly replied, I'm not sure if I would call them that, but it seems there are a few slight kicks under the table. She then said, This is a secret, but even Marie is a secret spy for the crown prince. Ethelred doesn't believe her. He made a suspicious face. Carly said, Oh my, it seems you don't believe me, he said. I'm not believing that kind of stuff anymore. Last time, you made a joke that people on the west coast cut up rocks for their meals, she said while smiling. Huh! I was serious, he replied. I'm not that naive, he then said. Come to think of it, I'm not sure if this can be viewed as a sort of power, but has your life become more comfortable as a result of the marriage? She lifts up her hand and looked at the ring. She said, Of course it has. It's taken care of most of the suitors. It really is a magical ring. She then smiles and said, It was only possible because of you. Thank you. Ethelred's heart raced looking at her. He then stands up and said, You said you came because you had a bit of time, right? He extends his hand towards her and said, Then before you go, how about a dance? She replied, Sure. The day of the ball, Anita announced that. Today is finally the day. It is the first banquet for the guild master and the young lord. Are you all ready to make these two the most beautiful people in the world? All the people cheered. Whoa! Looking at them, Ethelred said, They seem more passionate than we are. Carly smiles and said, Leave them be. It's their job. Then Amy came and grabs Ethelred from his shoulder and said, Oh my! What are you doing here, guildmaster's husband? She said. I came to watch, of course. Come on, we've got stuff to do. Let's hurry and get dressed. Both of them were dragged away by Amy and Anita respectively to get dressed. Carly said as she was being dragged away, See you later. After Carly gets dressed, she said, I did say that I'd leave it up to you, Anita, but isn't this too similar to a wedding dress? Anita said, I heard you didn't have a wedding. This way, at least you can feel like you did. Ethelred also came their dresses in tuxedo. Anita said, Ah, the young lord. Just in time. Looking at him, she said, I tried to accentuate your classic and refined beauty in a way that matches your unique atmosphere, my lord. Carly said while amazed. Wow, Anita. He's positively dazzling. You even made an arum lily. You sure are good with your hands, Ethelred said. So this flower is called an arum lily? I didn't know that, Carly said. Your new clothes look very nice. Ethelred takes a look at her and then averted his gaze and said, You look nice as well. Carly then said, All right then. Shall we head over? She got interrupted by Harper. Madam, I have something to report. We have found the accomplice of the Baron from the previous break-in. Do you remember? He was the front desk employee, Carly replied. Yes. He disappeared with the reserve master key. What about him? Harper told. That employee has been found dead. As they were in carriage going towards the banquet, Carly looked worried and busy in thoughts. Ethelred asked, Would it not be best to turn around and go home? She replied, And cancel our plans? This is a banquet by the Sovereign Council, you know, he said. Yes, but, she continued, It's all right. We don't know anything yet. She thinks in her mind. Nothing has been revealed. The man's corpse was found, but we don't know the cause of death, the estimated time of death, the whereabouts of the missing master key, or anything else. She said, Harper will take care of what she can and contact me if needed. Let's forget about it for now, and defeat the Sovereign Council. Ethelred gets surprised. She said, don't think too much about it. Just enjoy it. It's your first party, after all. Look, we're almost there. Looking at the extravagant palace, Ethelred thinks, this is the banquet hall of the Sovereign Council. The banquet was bustling with people. They were chatting to each other. After Carly and Ethelred reached their hand in hand, people started gossiping and whispering to each other. So that's the Lord Allard we've been hearing about. Is that the merchant next to him? A common merchant dares to walk among the Sovereign Council? Ethelred thinks. They're not even trying to hide that they're talking about us, Carly said. Lord Ethelred. I'm fine. Just smile. She's coming. Banquet sponsor was the wife of Count Crawford. Carly greeted her. Hello, ma'am. Thank you for inviting me to your banquet, she said. Of course. Please enjoy yourself, Ms. Brownie. No, that's not right, is it? Wife of Lord Allard. She grins as she said that. Looking at her, Ethelred wonders. What was that? Carly and Ethelred clasped their hands. The people came all around them and started gossiping and talking. Oh, so this is Lord Allard and his wife? His wife, he says. Nothing but a commoner, Ethelred thinks. These people, all have ill intentions. Every word they say is laced with spite. Moreover, it's only directed at Carly. I'm the one who wanted to come, but now Carly is, one of them said. There's not a soul who isn't aware of the news of the young lord's townhouse. Instead of land or gems, the wife used her marriage dowry to buy a mansion. A laughter arose after that. It seems she has a flair for drama. Perhaps she had nothing else to offer. People were laughing and giggling and they were mocking them. Hearing them talk, Carly thinks, their reactions are exactly what we predicted. Harper and Amy were right. What did they tell me to say in a situation like this again? Oh, that's right. Brag about my money, she then began. It's nothing, really. All I did was express my feelings for him with something I had at my disposal. When you have this much money, you ought to simply buy what you like, no? It's the same for this party. I am a little shy because it's our first party as a married couple, but it is quite exhilarating as well. So to honor the occasion, I bought everything that caught my fancy. I even studied makeup styles that are popular overseas. Did you know that the people on the West Coast carefully grind up abalone shells and pearls to use as a highlighter? I even had my gloves specially tailored for the occasion. This lace was done with the finest needle in all of the South. They're so thin that I can even wear rings over them. That's why I'm able to wear my wedding ring, you see, she showed as she said that. She thinks in her mind, the price of one pair is about 3 weeks of pay for an average guild member. And the Brownings Guild holds the exclusive sales rights. Did you all think I came to the Sovereign Council to play around? That's the most popular item this year. The nobles love luxury. That's why they make the best customers. Darling, they're walking bags of money. She resolved that while she's here, she's going to do some proper marketing. Looking at her, Ethelred thinks, so that's what her plan was. As a substitute for the products ruined in the fire, Carly's planning on selling these. The nobles who are drawn by Carly to the mall will buy even greater quantities of luxury items. Carly then said to nobles, we're planning on selling these products during the upcoming festival at the Lily of the Plaza Mall in Central Marches. Ethelred giggles. Pfft, Carly asked. What is it? He said. It's nothing. I'm just enjoying this. After a while the announcer said, next up will be the first dance between the wife of Count Crawford, the sponsor of this banquet, and Baron Dale, the head of the Sovereign Council. Looking at the Baron, Ethelred said, there's another person with hair as white as Amy's, Carly said. Amy was born with special beauty. I think the Baron's hair is just white because of old age. She then asked, anyway, are you going to dance? She replied, I think so too. I'm not very good at dancing. In that case, let's go to the back, sample some food and, as she was speaking, someone called, Carly? Carly remembers the voice and makes a face of disgust. Ethelred thinks, huh, what's that look on her face? The person came and said, it's been a while. What's with that face? Noah Lennox? Nice to see you again, my dear Carly, Carly said while making an irritated face. Sorry, but I don't want to be dear to you, nor have I ever been anything of yours. Noah laughs and said. Ha! You've hardened since the last time I saw you, she said. I don't remember ever being soft with you, he said still. It's been a while since we last saw each other. He raises his hand towards her and asks, Won't you grant me this dance? Carly thinks in her mind. Noah Lennox's appearance turns heads. Just being near him would put me in the spotlight as well. She rejected him. I'm sorry, but I only have one partner today. She was annoyed from Noah. She said, Isn't that right, darling? Let's go dance. I've been wanting to dance since earlier. Ethelred also laughs and said, Certainly, darling. Haha, then shall we go? Let's. Carly whispered to him. For now, let's get out of his line of sight. He whispered back, Okay. After they started dancing, Ethelred asked, How long are we going to dance? She replied, Until we can't see Noah Lennox anymore. Ethelred glances towards him, and he was still standing there. He asked, Who is he anyway? Carly hesitatingly said, One of my suitors. Ethelred also notices that she hesitated first. She added, Anyway. My lord, you saw the noble peerage, right? He replied. I did, she told. Noah is the oldest son of the Count of Lennox. I heard that he went down to the south for a while, but I guess he's back now. Ethelred asked, Was he not suitable as a marriage partner? She replied, Of course not. That family is probably trying to devour the Brownings guild whole. Ethelred said. He didn't seem like that kind of person, she said. You can't judge a book by its cover. Moreover, when I'm with him, Ethelred asked. Pardon? She changes the topic. And nothing. Let's focus on dancing. Now spin. After they get tired of dancing, they were sitting at a table. Ethelred said, Dancing sure is difficult. She said, I agree. She rises up from her place and said, No, we can't be acting like this here. Let's go eat something. We came all the way here. We can't just leave without eating anything. It's the Sovereign Council. Surely they have all sorts of rare delicacies. It was a lot of food. Ethelred asked, Carly, are we going to eat all of this? It took a while to bring it all over, she replied. Yes, we're going to eat all of this. The food is the most important part. Now then, what should I try first? Looking at a dish, Ethelred asked, What is this? Carly, is this food? She humorously spoke. Haha, of course. It's an oyster. It's seafood, she said. I told you. People on the west coast cut up rocks to eat what's inside. Ethelred asked. So that wasn't a joke? She asked. Do you have that little trust in me? It's nice and savory. Raw oysters are a delicacy, and they're uncommon too. Try one, Ethelred said. Well then. As he was about to take a bite, Ethelred took a bite and felt disgust. Carly checks up on him. Are you all right? Ethelred was coughing. Carly gave him some oyster to drink. While watching them, a noble kid said, A marquis who can't even eat oysters? How unsightly. They were laughing at Ethelred for not being able to eat oyster. The other one said, Definitely. I heard the academy lets commoners in too. If they make me sit with people who can't even eat oysters, I'm going to drop out. They were spouting nonsense. Lack of class is contagious, you know. Ethelred takes a sigh and doesn't feel bothered. He said to Carly, I'm fine now. Thank you, Carly, she said. Oh my, you're awfully good at not letting things like that bother you, your lordship. There are a lot of immature kids like that in the south as well. Oh, of course. I saw plenty when I was young too. Suddenly a voice came. There you are. I've been looking for you. Carly felt irritated. She said, You again? Ugh, she said. Go bother someone else, Noah said. Why? I'm a bother now that you're married? Having multiple lovers is expected of a classy noblewoman, Carly said. Do you just say whatever pops into your head? There's a child here, Noah laughs and said. Ha! Goodness, you're starting to hurt my feelings. Won't you introduce me to him? Ethelred thinks in his mind, Come to think of it, I've never seen Carly hate someone so much. Noah extends his hand and said, Greetings, Lord Allard. I'm Noah, the son of the Count of Lennox. Reach his hand out. He stands up and said, I'm Ethelred. It's nice to meet you. They shake hands. Noah asked, Are you sure? I'm a man who wishes to be by your wife's side. As he said that, Carly spoke. Noah Lennox, are you seriously going to? But she got interrupted by a servant. Please excuse my intrusion. I have received an urgent message for the Brownings Guild Master. Carly was surprised and thinks, An urgent message at a time like this? It must be about the hotel employee, she said. Hurry and lead me to the attendant. The servant guides the way. Please come this way. As she was walking, she thinks, though the corpse may have been discovered, there's no chance they could have figured out the cause and time of death in just a few hours. Even if they did somehow find out, the matter isn't significant enough to send an urgent message. Could something else have happened? Or could it perhaps be that? The attendant shouted after seeing her. Madam, he said, they have requested that you return at once. Carly asked. So suddenly? Why? He told. I haven't been informed of the reason. I believe it will be best if you return and see for yourself. He showed her. Ah, yes. Here you are. She took a look at the card. Then she turns towards Noah and said, I must be going now. I apologize for leaving so early, Noah said. I'll explain to the host that you all are leaving early due to personal reasons, Carly said. Thank you. It's nothing. It is my pleasure to be able to do you a favor, Carly cut him off saying. Let us go, your lordship. Outside the palace, Carly talked to her servants. She said, let us return as quickly as possible. Sasha, you're the most skilled equestrian, right? More people will slow us down. Everyone besides Sasha shall wait here, Sasha said. But madam, it will be dangerous if I'm your only escort. Moreover, Sir Mason isn't here at the moment. At the very least, you should have more escorts so that, Carly spoke. No. Only the two of us will go. Your lordship, you need to stay behind as well. As soon as I arrive, I will send a carriage to bring you back, Ethelred protested. I will go with you, Carly said. Goodness, no. Stay here. It's dangerous. He grabs her sleeve and said. That's all the more reason why I can't send you off alone. Because we're, he shouted, husband and wife. All the servants and Carly were surprised hearing that. As he said that, he gets on the carriage. Carly then said, wait. Why are you mentioning that? Lord Ethelred, I told you not to get in. After he went inside, Carly takes a sigh and said, honestly, he's so stubborn, she then said as she rode the carriage. It's going to be very bumpy. Be careful not to bite your tongue. Ethelred nodded hearing that. Let's go, Sasha! Meanwhile, back at the banquet hall, another messenger came. Noah asked, You're the Brownings' attendant? She replied. Yes, that is correct, he said. I wonder what could have made them send multiple messengers. Carly and Lord Allard already received the message and left. There must have been some sort of mix-up. The attendant was confused, he said. Pardon? I am the only messenger sent by the guild. They were shocked hearing that. Count's wife asked, Oh my? Then who's the person who came earlier? As they were rushing back, Ethelred said. Now tell me. Back when you tried to leave me behind, you said it would be dangerous. But the message from the guild only stated that you are to return urgently. Somehow you were certain it would be dangerous, as if you knew something. Could you tell me why? After hearing that, Carly burst out laughing. Ha! She asked, Is that the reason you said you'd accompany me? So that whole husband and wife thing was just a pretext? She laughs again. Ethelred, while feeling embarrassed, said, This is no laughing matter. Carly imitated him. No, I just, ha! It's funny. We're husband and wife, she then said. Okay, I'll explain. Don't get so angry. We're husband and wife, after all, she said. The identity card that the attendant showed me was probably fake. People around me, such as Harper, are able to take care of things by themselves. Basically, they don't need me. But they used an attendant to call for me, and one that I've never seen before at that, Ethelred asked. Does that mean the attendant was a fake? She said. Yep, it's a trap. They're trying to lure the Brownings guild master to a deserted path in the middle of the night. What do you mean? Suddenly they heard the rattling of the carriage as it stopped. Ah, Carly asked. What is going on, Sasha? She said. It's the police. They need to do an inspection. I apologize for stopping so suddenly, Carly wondered. An inspection in the middle of the night? A person said announced. Please open the door for a moment. We request that you cooperate with this inspection, Ethelred said. Carly, I'll open the door, she refused. No, I'll open it. As she was opening the door, she said, Hello, I see you're all working quite late. As the door was half open, a person put a knife to her neck and said, I've caught you. Carly Browning. Carly gets startled. The son of the Baron. Seeing that, Ethelred shouted. Carly, she said. It's all right. Calm down, the attacker said. You sure are living the good life. Meanwhile, I'm about to be kicked out onto the streets, thanks to you. Carly was trembling as she was holding the doorknob. He laughs and said, Ha! Are you scared? It's too early to be frightened. The police? At a time like this? Moreover, your nice little escort has been captured. You're done for. Now, why don't you beg me to spare you? He shouted again, beg me. Carly was reminding herself, stay calm. She devised a plan. First, I have to get rid of this knife. I'm still holding on to the door handle. That means I still have a chance. She glared at him and said, You're the one who's done for. She quickly closes the door, and his hand got stuck in the door. He screamed in pain. I'm stuck, Carly said. Your lordship, pull this with me. Both Carly and Ethelred pulls the door. The attacker then said, Such childish tactics. Let me go, Carly said. You're the one who's childish. She then shouted, Sasha, as to give her the signal. Seeing that, Sasha said, You idiots, did you really believe I would be obedient? She then quickly grabs and slams the attacker to the ground, and said I was only pretending to be caught. She quickly apprehends few of the accomplices. She then tells her madam that she has taken care of them. Baron's son and other were trying to get him free. Pull the door, not me, the door. Carly, who was still holding on to the door, said, Good job, Sasha. She then said to Ethelred, All right. On the count of 3, let go. Okay? He replied. All right. She then counts, 1, 2, 3. As they released the door, all of them fell on one another. Carly grins, looking at him lying on the ground. She closes the door and said, Sasha, go. She replied, Yes, madam. Baron's son orders his men, Catch them, no matter what it takes. As they were running away, Baron's son and his accomplices were following them on horses. He shouts, Stop right there, Browning. Carly was trembling. She reminds herself to stay calm. She thinks, no matter how many tricks they have up their sleeve, they can't use any of them if they don't catch up with us. If I can just keep them at bay until the rescue team comes. I had completely forgotten about him due to the shock. She then asked, My lord, are you all right? He replied, Oh, yes, I'm fine. As he spoke, a flare was shot up in the sky to call for help. Ethelred gets startled by that. Carly said, It's all right. We're shooting flares to call for help. The guards will arrive soon. Until then, A cut on her neck stings. Ethelred asked, Carly, you're hurt. She replied, I'm all right. It's just a little scratch. He then asked, Who are those people? She said, Do you remember the man who raided the hotel and tried to attack me? That's him. I hit him hard in the crotch. But actually, the more I think about it, the more infuriated I become. She then gets up and opens the window and shouts outside, Did you come just to announce that you're infertile now? You pervert! Back then I should have just… She got interrupted by the sound of a bullet fired. A bullet went past by her. Her expressions changed. What the, he has a gun! While following them, Baron's son thinks in his mind, You bitch! If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have ended up like this. It's all because of you. He then said Hya, and caught up to the carriage. He then points his gun towards them and said, Goodbye, Carly Browning. He fired the gun. Carly jumps from her place to save Ethelred. She got injured trying to save him. Ethelred asked, Carly, are you all right? She said, I'm fine. Her shoulder was hurting. Meanwhile, Sasha tries to go faster. Please, go a little faster. Giddy up. Their carriage gets some distance, and leaves the Baron's son behind. Ethelred thinks, We've managed to gain some distance, but Carly is badly injured. We can't keep going like this. We need to do something. If only I knew how to fight. Suddenly they heard rumbling sounds. Ethelred wonders, What's that sound? Someone is coming from the front. Mason Hill, the head of the Browning guards, appears. He shouts, How dare you do all of this while I'm gone? I hope you know that I won't be sending you back alive. You brats! He came and rescued them. The next day, Harper was infuriated with Carly. Carly said, Harper, calm down. Harper said, So you knew that the first messenger's identity card was fake? She glares at her and said, That must mean you knew the message was fake, and that it would be dangerous. You must have known everything. You even left the guards behind because you knew it would be dangerous. And then you decided to follow the messenger yourself despite that? Carly said, Harper, I'm injured, you know. She snapped, And whose fault is it that you left with them and came back injured? You even took the young lord with you. Carly lay down on sofa and take a sigh. She said, What could I do? He was so clearly coming after me. How could I ignore that? And I made sure to tell the young lord not to come with me. He's the one who insisted on coming. Ethelred said, I apologize. While feeling ashamed, he said, I didn't even know what was going on but insisted on coming anyway. Carly quickly rises up from her place and said, Hey, I didn't mean it. He continued, If I weren't there, you wouldn't have gotten seriously injured protecting me. Feeling annoyed, Carly said, Seriously injured? Dr. Arden said I'll be fine in no time. Her inner self said, Save me, somebody. Harper then said, I was a bit harsh, but I will return to the main point now. We have reported the son of Lord Beckett. We have also submitted his knife and revolver as evidence. Carly asked, Where did he get that gun? I can't imagine it was easy to get one as a normal nobleman. Harper told. Among the gang members there was a man from the safety department. It seems he obtained it through him. She gives her the document and said, Also, this is the statement of compensation for the death of the employee during work hours. I wrote the sum in accordance with office regulations. Looking at that, Carly thinks, according to the confessions from the captured gang members, when they raided the hotel, the employee refused to give them the key. Because of this, they murdered him unintentionally. Then, they abandoned the body. After that, they heard the news of the body's discovery from the safety department member. So once again, they claimed to have attacked unintentionally. She instructed while shaking. Double the amount of the damages. That feels right. Harper looks at her and then said, I will do so. Lily of the Plaza Mall owned by the Brownings. While going up the stairs, Carly said, Your lordship, I'm really okay. You don't have to follow me around. Ethelred said, I am going to act as your arm until you get better, she said. Seriously, I'm fine. The attack was taken care of quietly. A member of the safety department was involved in the attack, so it stood to reason that the safety department would oppose any media exposure. Along with that, Carly wanted to continue to have the guild guards appear as an impregnable force. Hence, it came about from a mutual understanding. However, just because the situation was handled quietly doesn't mean that the injuries disappeared with it. And this is the result: a turtleneck, long sleeves, and a coat with a cloak to cover up her left arm's injuries. Ethelred said, You got hurt because of me, and you couldn't even rest because you had to prepare for the royal birthday. I couldn't be of any help. Even though I'm your so-called husband, I feel like I'm just a burden to you, and to make matters worse, you're the only one who was injured. Carly said, What are you saying? It's much better than if you were hurt. Though nothing good happened, I was quite relieved that you weren't hurt. She pats him on the head and said, So don't blame yourself. It's enough for me that you're fine. Okay, Ethel? After hearing that, Ethelred thinks in his mind, Carly called me by my name for the first time. She even called me Ethel, instead of Lord Ethel, or Your Lordship. He blushed, then he turns and said, Bibo, why are we at the mall? There are still 2 more hours until it opens, Carly told. Today's the first day of the festival. The first day has the biggest rush of customers, so we always have a special assembly. A special assembly? The Royal Birthday Festival includes the 2 days before and after the King's birthday, totaling 5 days. During those 5 days, the entire region focuses on the festival. Busy seasons like this are vital for merchants, she said. Yes, you can see how busy headquarters is already, but the mall is a whole other story this time of year. Watch. It'll be a sight to behold. As they watch, a servant was briefing other servants. She said, Everyone, the royal birthday has finally arrived. For just 5 days our abilities will be put to the test. She shouted, Are you ready for this blowout sale? Are you ready to work hard until we empty the warehouse? Are you ready to work alongside me and write a glorious page in the history books by selling everything in the Plaza of Lilies? Carly spoke. Alongside the honor gained from your struggle, there will also be a bonus. Ethelred tells in his mind. Carly's voice wasn't very loud, but it reached all the corners of the mall. It rang out like the sound of a stone breaking through still waters. In that moment, I saw the eyes of the kind employees instantly begin to burn with fiery passion. Bonus! Incentive! Let's sell, and sell some more! If anyone falls, leave him behind! We'll sell every last piece of dust in this mall! We'll be this year's lords of sales! Carly laughs and said, The future of the Brownings Guild sure is bright. They're really fired up. Ethelred accepted and then smiles. He said, It seems so. And so, with loud cheers, the festival began. Central Marches, the kingdom's busiest street. It's divided into 2 main parts, with Lily of the Plaza at its center. On one side, there are high-class shops, including Anita's boutique, while the other side hosts a bustling, ordinary shopping district. Ethelred replied. All right. But where are we going? She said. On the royal birthday, we eat cake. It's all part of the salesmanship, but we should still enjoy it. We're here. Cat and Mouse Bakery. They ordered a cake. The shopkeeper. Here you are. Thank you, sir. The royal birthday cakes come from Cat and Mouse. The servant said, Let me carry that for you, madam. She said. Oh, thank you. The shopkeeper said. Oh, wow. Is this your husband? It's nice to meet you. I'm the baker here at Cat and Mouse. The name's Jerry, Ethelred replied. Oh, my name is Ethel. He laughs and said. Haha, you're smaller than I heard. You're like a tiny mouse. A tiny mouse. Carly laughs after hearing that. Bahaha. Then the shopkeeper said, Give me a moment. It's a lack of eating is what it is. He starts tossing bread towards Ethelred. Take this. And this too. Good, good. Eat it all. He then said to Ethelred, You have to eat lots and grow up big and strong if you want to do your job as a husband, you know. Carly laughs and said, That's right. You've a long way to go if you want to catch up to me. Ethelred called her as to stop her. Carly! Carly again burst out laughing. She then said, Sorry. I laughed a little too loud. Suddenly Noah came and said, I didn't expect to see you here, Carly. Hearing that voice, Carly felt annoyed. Ugh, that voice. Noah said, It's been a while. It's nice to see you too, Ethelred. Ethelred replied. Oh, right, Mr. Noah. Carly asked while fuming, What's the son of a count doing here? He replied, My younger sister wants to eat royal birthday cake from this bakery. As her elder brother, I couldn't leave her wish unfulfilled. Carly whispered to Ethelred, He's a total idiot when it comes to his little sister. Actually, he's a total idiot no matter what, so don't spend too much time with him, Noah said. Haha, I can hear you. As they were talking, Jerry asked Noah, Sir, do you have a reservation? Noah froze for a moment, then he cracks a laugh and said, A reservation? He was oblivious of this. Jerry said, The quantity is different every year, so all royal birthday cakes need to be reserved ahead of time. Carly then said, You seriously thought you could just waltz in and buy a cake from Cat and Mouse? Oh my, what a shame! Ethelred then said, Could I offer you some bread, at least? Noah said, That's all right, thank you. Carly laughs again as the conversation goes. Wiping of his tears, he said, I wasn't able to get what I came for, so I suppose I'll just go back home. I see there aren't guild carriages in front of the store, so you must not have brought a carriage. He offered, Would you like to ride with me? Carly thinks in her mind, He's as annoying as ever. Carly said, There's no need. We can get a stagecoach. Let's go, Ethel. Their carriage is still being fixed after the attack, Ethelred said, but Carly. Suddenly Noah spoke, I can't just let you leave like that when your arm's injured. After hearing that, Carly froze for a moment. I thought I was hiding it so well. I guess that's to be expected of a Lennox. Their family could have already found out about the attack. They're certainly powerful enough. But I don't want to start a bunch of rumors by riding in his carriage, Noah said. You'll get in, won't you? After that, both Ethelred and Carly gets in the carriage. In the end, I got in. I just hope this doesn't cause any unnecessary gossip, Noah said. Oh, and would you perhaps visit my grandfather soon? He seems to want to meet you, Carly asked with an annoyed face. Your grandfather? Why? Noah said. He likes you more than me, she said. That doesn't make any sense. He's always nitpicking me every time he sees me, Noah said. Ha! That's how he shows affection. While hearing their conversation, Ethelred thinks, I can't figure out Carly and Noah's relationship. At first, I thought they didn't get along, but seeing them like this, they seem close. I feel like I can't get in between them. Noah spoke. He is curious about your husband, too. Ethelred was shocked. He asked, Pardon? And me? Carly asked, Why would he be interested in Ethel? Noah replied, I wonder. There's no way for me to know what he's thinking. Carly thinks in her mind currently there are two groups that split the business district in half. One is the Brownings, and the other is Lennox and Sons. As the founding owner of Lennox and Sons and Noah's grandfather, Lord Lennox started as a common merchant and made a fortune with his own two hands. By uniting with a noble household, he received the title of Lord. As for his personality, it is terrible beyond words. She then spoke. We always cut the cake every year during midday on the royal birthday. Tell your sister to come if she is still interested in the royal cake. Hearing that, Noah said, Thank you. When she visits, grandfather will come with her. After Noah dropped them off, he said, "Then I will talk to you at that time. Take care of yourself," Carly replied. "I'm taking care of myself just fine, so don't worry." After he left, Carly said, "My head hurts. Let's hurry back, Ethel." Ethelred then said, Carly, could I ask how long you've known this Noah person?" She replied, "It's been a few years." "Why?" he asked. "So you two were friends?" He questioned in his mind. "There's nothing between them, right? But it still bothers me," Carly replied. "Yes, we were. At least until right after my 20th birthday, when he proposed to me."